It's the Knicks, Jets, etc. podcast with Alex Trateris, John Malika, and Ricey on the beat. Let's go.
Yo, what's good, everyone? Alex Trateris here with another Jets episode of the Knicks, Jets, etc. podcast. And with me, as always, my buddy McCoy, pal, the man with the plan, the one and only, John Malika. And always with us, video producer extraordinaire, the man who keeps this YouTube channel on point. I feel like all the content, all the shorts, this guy's got it covered. What up, video producer Greg?
What's going on? What's going on,
John?
fellas?
What's happening today? We're close, guys. We're close before the real test comes up. All right, Green Bay Packers, New York Jets in Lambeau. We're gonna have our guy John out there watching the game, probably getting text play by play, be like how he feels, hanging out with some cheeseheads.
I don't know if I can do play-by-play on Lambeau, man. I'll see. We'll see. We'll see the state of me. We'll see the state of the game. Like the last big away game, the London game, I couldn't even look at my phone, feeling it vibrate in my pocket as the game was going and ended up being 17-3. I wanted to throw my phone, actually. So we'll see how it goes. I'm really hoping the Jets put up a fight. At the back end of this, we just had the great interview with the Packers fan-sided, and it gives me some hope that they're a little worried about this game, man. Not only because of the Packers, but also because of the Jets. And, man, I can't remember the last time a team was actually worried about the New York Jets, and it's Week 6.
Things are changing.
You said things are changing. This is a huge game for the New York Jets. Shout out to Tsunami Speaks. We had her on last episode. I was listening to her own recap of the Dolphins. She was calling us. We're not the same old Jets. We're just the New York Jets. Like we're just the new. It's like the new New York Jets. And like
the promotion.
I agree.
We got the promotion from the same old Jets to just being the New York Jets because we're
like the new New York Jets, but that just means like we're just the New York Jets because this could be the game changing. This is the changing of the guard if we're able to kill in this game because we calmed down a little bit from the recap. We're about to get Greg's thoughts on it. But, we're able to chill out. Like, okay, it was against the third-string quarterback, even though we're the ones that put him in the game. They were missing Byron Jones and Xavier Howard, which we knew going into this game. The defensive turnovers where they put us in good position, that was huge. Zach Wilson, again, annoying with the not having the 2 touchdowns for Breece Hall, both on the 1-yard line, but maybe it wasn't as amazing as the 40-17 we've calmed down, but still a great game. And the reality of the situation is the Bills are playing Kansas City next week, and there's a chance for them to lose. Meanwhile, if we win this game, not only are we going to be 3-0 on the road, not only are we going to have being Aaron Rodgers in Lambeau Field, but we're going to be tied for the top of the division at Week 7. So this could really be a changing of the guard, not just like culturally, not just like on paper, not just for my feelings, but like literally in actual division standings. So, man, I am really excited about this week. But before we get into the Green Bay Packers versus the New York Jets, Greg, you weren't on with us last week. We had a phenomenal guest, Tsunami Speaks on. What were your thoughts on the Jets absolutely molly-whopping the Miami Dolphins?
Dude, first things first, I feel like I'm a gambler first at this point. Jets are plus 500 to make the playoffs. If we win this week, I think we're in the driver's seat, to your point. So if you're thinking about taking the bet, I think there's good value in plus 500 right now. So that's something that I put in this week. Threw it in a little bit of a parlay with some other teams, but still, the backbone of it is the Jets. That's how I feel about it. That should tell you all you need to know about the Miami Dolphins game. I mean, there's so many things. You guys did a great job with Tsunami kind of highlighting a lot of the MVPs and the All-Stars, the guys that made the great plays. But there was a couple things when watching the condensed game a second or third time after the game that stood out to me. One was special teams. We pinned Teddy Bridgewater back against the end zone that allowed Sauce to get that blitz. Another thing was the comments during the week from Robert Saleh talking about how he was talking with Ulbrich during the week, and they've tried to run that DB blitz kind of early in the game to catch people off guard a couple times, but they haven't had the right setup. And to me, that says a lot about this coaching staff because they know what they want to do, but they're not forcing it. Like, I talked about the trick play calling that one game with Michael Floor. I felt like we were forcing it a little bit. To me, Ulbrich's really been on the hot seat. A lot of Jets fans were calling for him end of last season, early this season, and he's just ride steady. He knows what he's got in this defense. His defense is starting to mesh. Was it 5 different players with interceptions? 6 different players, with interceptions. Joyner with 2 interceptions, 7 interceptions so far for this Jets
shutting
defense.
us all up. Joyner shutting us all up after that one bad game.
It's incredible, man. This defense, like Robert Saleh said, they took receipts and they're playing well. Ulbrich, great play call, pinned up against the goal line, get the sack, get the turnover safety there, yep, and get the punt back. But then after we get the punt back, what does Braxton Berrios do? He takes that, boom, runs it to the 50-yard line. That's special teams. That's special teams on the return side, the special teams on the punting side. So that was one thing that stood out to me. The other thing, too, when times were tough, 17-19, the Miami Dolphins missed a field goal. We get the ball back. What's the first play we run? Step back, drop back for Zach Wilson, clean pocket, Corey Davis, right side out, 15, 20 yards, whatever it was, hits him in stride. Zach drops it in between 3 people, and we get it. Corey Davis, we've talked about Corey Davis on this podcast. We've said some things. He's catching the football the last 2 weeks. He's not dropping the football. We have weapons, man. So that was my biggest thing. Everyone was getting in the mix. When it mattered most, Zach Wilson was able to step up now 2 weeks in a row in the fourth quarter. My thing going into this week is I need some third quarter points, baby. I don't want to keep our back up against the wall in the fourth quarter. So those were my couple takeaways to round us out. If you haven't checked the recap episode with Tsunami earlier in the week, it was great. You guys did a good job. So those were a couple little things that stood out when I was watching the replay.
You mentioned interceptions. Who was that? What was that play that he almost Cromartied it on the side? Was that DJ Reed?
DJ Reed.
That was DJ Reed going out of bounds.
Almost had that.
Yo, if he had caught that with the one hand, I was.
There was that, and there was the one that you guys talked about too with Tyreek Hill, where Tyreek Hill kind of ripped it out of his hands, or he kind of just couldn't make the play completely on the ball. There was a couple of them, but again, 7 interceptions, 6 different players. Ashton Davis to end the game for us against Cleveland. Joyner with 2.
That was literally the only play he's had all year, like literally on the field, it feels like. Not even productive play, just actual snap.
It's so crazy.
Jets are currently tied for second with most interceptions in the league right now. Top 3 teams, Bills, Steelers, Ravens with 8. Jets, Jaguars are tied for second with 7 or third, however that works, whatever they decide.
So that officially worries me because they always say that stuff evens out. So that I don't know. I'm
for sure, dude. Look, we had 4 against Pickett. I mean, that obviously bumped it up. But to Greg's point, we're having opportunistic defense. We stunk with that for the last couple of years. Now we're starting to see that turn around. This defense starting to gel together. DJ Reed talked about communication. You're starting to see that communication. Greg pointed out Robert Saleh talking with Ulbrich to really just get the whole defense on the same page. Things are starting to turn around, man, and hopefully we can continue to have this translate into this game against the Green Bay Packers. And as you point out, John, we had Spencer Monowitz on the back half of this. Great episode.
Yep.
Great interview, we should say. So make sure to stay tuned to that to hear the Packers side and how they view this game. But I'm looking at this, man. I'm looking at this game.
Can I just mention one thing before you just get into it? Ashton Davis, total of 10 snaps this year. They include that interception. Go ahead.
Whatever. I have to give this man his kudos, man. He iced
the game.
He did. I can't say anything right now. The man is seriously scot-free for me, right? I legit cannot say a thing about him right now. All right.
I can't say too much about CJ Mosley.
I was about to say, you took the words out of my mouth.
Nothing would make me happier than CJ Mosley has an all-star season.
Now, can Quincy Williams make John be quiet? That's the whole thing. He's coming back.
He's practicing today.
Yeah.
I'm hyped he's practicing. I'm happy. Dude,
we got our linebacker core back to full strength. All right. John doesn't have to worry about who this linebacker coming in and not knowing names.
Marcel Harris played well. No problem. I just didn't know who the hell he was. No one else around me knew either. My phone was dead. I was like, I've never even seen this guy. I know everybody on the practice squad. It was just really interesting.
Man. But regardless, we're going in here against the Green Bay Packers. We had Breece Hall coming off another monster week. We had Sauce Gardner.
The belt.
You got the belt, man.
Belt one Jets drive, the third belt of the year, baby.
Belt staying in Forum Park, man. Didn't Sauce Gardner win it too? Didn't he win the?
Yeah, we had Garrett Wilson win it versus Cleveland.
Yeah.
We had last week Breece Hall, and then we had this week Sauce Gardner. I think he's officially
staying in Forum Park, baby.
I think you can officially say at MetLife, some guy behind me was like, he's grabbing me. He's like, he's officially Sauce. He's officially Sauce. Hold on. A second to like understand how I was dying, and then I died laughing.
You know who needs to be the next guy to win it? Jermaine Johnson, baby. We need Jermaine Johnson to come out and finish that trifecta. The quadfecta, I should say. The quadfecta. We need the quadfecta to happen, baby. We need Jermaine Johnson.
Bad news about Jermaine Johnson. He's going to be out this week.
I know, but we still got to win it. One of these guys got to repeat and then continue it so that Jermaine Johnson can win it next week. That belt's got to. Shout out to Joe Douglas for a lot of you out there who were complaining about this man, by the way, saying, can't spot talent, this, that, and the third. But hey, look at that. This is why you're patient. This is why you're patient during a rebuild. Football isn't like the NBA where one player solves everything. But let's get into this game. I won't go down that road. We got the Packers. What are you guys thinking? John, I'm going to start off with you. What do you think the Jets got to do on the offensive side to win this game?
All right, so we like to talk about how Zach Wilson hasn't got an interception yet, but his touchdowns are very low as well. We could kind of give him the fact that the two last week he should have had them, but they went to Breece Hall. They went to Michael Carter, who actually stole them from Breece Hall and Zach Wilson, which is great. Like, we have no problem with that. I think that this week it could stay the same, and the Jets could still win this game. In fact, I think that's the recipe to win this game. The Green Bay Packers suck against the run. They're absolutely atrocious against the run, and we have two really good running backs with two really different skill sets. We got our own Darren Sproles in Michael Carter, and we have an absolute traditional beast in Breece Hall. A rookie with fresh legs, and he runs in between the tackles. He can run zone out. He can catch out of the backfield. If Zach Wilson actually sees him, speaking of all 22, there was a play last week that really pissed me off. He was wide open on the underneath, and we threw it 6 yards out, and we had to punt it because of that. It's really stupid. But anyway, we just have to run the ball against the Packers. Aaron Rodgers complained about the Green Bay Packers last week. He was mostly talking about how he just didn't get the ball back. He's like the Giants, what they really did well is just keeping the ball. And the way they kept the ball was they just kept the ball on the ground. And lucky for us, we are really good at that. Whether that's the end arounds, we mentioned with Berrios, who got the touchdown off it. Whether that's Garrett Wilson, who could also play that game, quick screens. I just want to keep the clock running, keep the ball on the ground, keep the ball out of Aaron Rodgers' hands. And I think we're equipped to do that, man. And on the opposite side, we're really good at pressuring. We're not going to sack Aaron Rodgers. That can't be my game plan because I just can't fathom that happening. But I'm also not worried about his wide receivers for the first time in my life. It's really just about stopping Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, who they just run. So it's, again, I feel like you can just put it on loop at this point. The Jets have to tackle the running back, and they have to stop the damn tight end. Like that's the name of the game.
All right, Greg. What are your thoughts on the Jets got to do this weekend?
Yeah, I was just looking it up because I saw it was the Buffalo Jet fan holding it down out in Buffalo for us. Much respect for that. Tweeted out earlier today. Zach Wilson, in his 16 games played, has had 11 passing plays tackled inside the 2-yard line. And he's had 5 drops that have turned into interceptions. So Zach Wilson's had a very good season so far. Granted, it's only a few games. But again, we saw it this week with getting tackled inside the 2-yard line, inside the 5-yard line. We haven't seen it really too much with the drops turning into interceptions, thank God. But that's because he's had a clean pocket. Second best in the NFL passing-wise when he has a clean pocket. So for us on offense, I agree we have to run the ball, but part of that component has to be keeping a clean pocket for Zach when we have to pass. I think we did a pretty good job last week when we were able to keep a good pocket. I mean, AVT, you guys talked about it. Offensive MVP for me so far. Right guard, left tackle, right tackle, doesn't matter. This guy,
all he's got to do is play center, and this man has done it all.
So, I mean, as long as his offense can stay healthy and stay on pace, I saw that Dwayne Brown, limited participant in practice. I would guess that he's probably going to be limited all year because of the injury that he's choosing to play through, which is awesome to see because he played great for us at left tackle last week.
It's amazing, bro.
Yeah, so for me, he... clean pocket, run the ball.
Max Mitchell going to come back at some point?
Max Mitchell and Fant. Like, that's the whole thing. Like, Alex, we were talking about it a couple weeks ago that, on paper we made a lot of moves, but nothing's really materialized. If all these guys come back and are healthy at the same time, we got an offensive line, boys, and we got running backs that can run, and we got a quarterback that is lights out when there's a clean pocket. Also, I think second worst in the NFL when he's under pressure. So... that's a huge discrepancy between second best when it's clean, second worst when he's under pressure. We have to keep a clean pocket for Zach when he has to pass. To John's point, though, let's not pass too much. Let's run the balls, keep the ball out of Aaron Rodgers' hands. What have we heard for 10 years playing against Tom Brady? Keep the ball out of the guy's hands. We have to do it again against Aaron Rodgers this week. We have to do it against these superstar quarterbacks when we play him. We have to run the ball. Good thing is Breece Hall is a beast. Very excited for him this week.
Facts. And I agree with everything you both said. Keep the ball out of Aaron Rodgers' hands. This time of possession, that's being able to establish the run game. We got Breece Hall. Let's also not forget we got Michael Carter, baby. All right.
Oh yeah.
We got 2 stellar running backs on this team, both young, more than capable of doing the job. We saw Breece Hall almost go 100 for 100 for both receptions and rushing. The dude is an animal. Okay. And the offensive line, we know they're good at run blocking, and they showed it last week, and that's why they got to do it again this week against the Green Bay Packers. But I still think Zach Wilson can have success passing on this team. 72%, actually close to, I think it was 72% of this team, of the Packers defense. Sorry, let me rephrase that.
Yep.
You can pass. Offenses have been having a lot of success against the Packers defense passing-wise completion percentage. 72% has been completed against their defense. It's not gaining a lot of yards. It's not a lot of touchdowns. But what that does tell me is that if the Jets offense can get third and short, there's a lot of flexibility that you can go with that. They're not good against the run, but you can still get some passing out there. You can do some play action. You can throw them off a little bit, get some 5-10 yard passes out there. Zach Wilson's been doing pretty good, as to your point, especially when there's a clean pocket. He doesn't have to, be forced or getting hit. I think Zach will have some success. A lot of underneath. This seems like a very good game for Corey Davis with his strength, being a big body receiver to go up and go catch it. For me, it also seems like Elijah Moore, who's got the footwork to create that separation. Also, Braxton Berrios. I would say Braxton Berrios is going to be his game to kind of get a good amount of involvement, because he is that gadget guy, that short yardage guy who can get a lot of yaks. I would expect him to have a solid game. Actually over Elijah Moore, because Elijah Moore's been struggling. I think everyone's been honing in on Elijah Moore. I would probably expect a lot of work from Corey Davis first, because of the size and how he's stepped up the last couple of weeks, and Braxton Berrios out of that. But the running game is definitely going to be where everything's most effective. Defensively,
one thing you said though, real quick too, that stuck out to me, Alex, Tyler Conklin.
Oh, that's a fact.
When Zach Wilson's come back, he hasn't been. What you talked about a couple episodes, Joe Flacco would just hit Tyler Conklin 6 times on a drive. Where's that been, Zach Wilson? I know we haven't needed to go to him, but maybe he gets a little involved underneath.
he had that one pass interference. Well, it
Yeah,
wasn't a
big
pass interference,
play.
but it should have been.
Yep, that ended up not getting completed. So yeah, but that was my thing. When you start talking about that, I think underneath, give me Tyler Conklin for a few 5-yard catches, get this offense going in gear.
Facts, man, facts. And I think defensively, it's just getting to Aaron Rodgers, putting that pressure on them. That's what the Giants did. We don't have to worry about our secondary because our secondary has been pretty stellar, especially at the cornerback position between DJ Reed and Sauce Gardner. They've been covering up. I'm not too worried about an aging Randall Cobb, a Dobbs, a Lazard. Those guys don't really worry me. It's more so Aaron Rodgers, who's just a really good quarterback and who knows how to extend the play and then find everybody that he needs to, right? But our front seven really needs to step up this week. Really needs to step up this week against a tight end. And you got A.J. Dillon. You got Aaron Jones back there. I know Aaron Jones has been the guy right now. You really got to hone in on these guys. Really got to hone in. This is a front seven. This is really a test. This, I think, out of everyone who has the biggest job today, front seven, hands down this week, is going to determine how successful the New York Jets are. Because I think the offense will be there. Can our front seven actually do this job of stopping two potent running backs? Because if they can't, it's gonna be a long game, fellas. It's gonna be a long game.
So it's about the tackling, man. If you see the big plays we made last week, is just open field tackling. Quan Alexander, man, I love him so much.
Yo, great
force.
Such a great signing, dude. Such a great signing.
The only thing to Alex, to your point, worries me a little bit. If we're in the trust tree here a little bit, if you're not a Jets fan, stop listening. If you're here for the Spencer portion, that'll be coming up shortly. But Jets fans only at this point. I'm a little nervous about the rushing game. Mostert was looking pretty good. I get that he was, we were allowing him to run maybe a little bit because we were up. I'm a little nervous about this rushing attack from Green Bay with Jones and Dillon. I'm a little nervous.
Yeah.
Well, Aaron Rodgers' thumb also gives me like pretty. Well, it gives me a lot of confidence, honestly.
Yeah.
But it also worries me because they're gonna run the ball. They just gotta make tackles, man.
How confident, John? You could give us a final score here as we wrap up this and we get over to the Spencer interview.
I gave a final score at the end of the Spencer interview. Here's my thinking, man. How many touchdowns is Zach Wilson gonna get in Lambeau? He hasn't gotten really any all year. It feels like
he got one. He's gotten one touchdown this season.
Yeah. So what are we talking about? Maybe he'll get another one, right?
Probably
like two
that's
at
probably
the max. Max. So I don't even think that's happening.
I don't
Let's
think
call
Zach,
it one.
Let's
call it running back one.
Running backs are going to go to town this weekend. If we win, the running backs are going to town. In my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, especially gaining the yards, but it's just going to be if Zach Wilson could finish in the red zone. That's what I'm worried about the most. And of course, on defense, I'm worried about stopping the run. But then Aaron Rodgers, man, he's going to be pissed off making plays. Like, what are we? Who are we? Kidding. So there's a lot to think about here. I think the Jets could get 2 or 3 field goals and maybe 2 touchdowns. So I guess that means 9-14, so 23. You know what I'm saying? Like the Jets get 23, and the Packers maybe the only way to stop them, maybe they get like 21, like just 3 touchdowns, and they just like don't get the last one. I mean, I know it's a different score from what I gave at the end of the Spencer interview, but that's the kind of game it has to be. Like the only way the Jets could actually win this game, like my confidence level, is if we stop the run. Because if you stop the run and you force Aaron Rodgers to throw, I know he's Aaron Rodgers, but he has a hurt thumb. We have good cornerbacks. They have no wide receivers. So in a 3rd and long situation, like it's really just Robert Tonyan. Like we better be able to stop freaking Robert Tonyan. Like he can't go for 150 yards. Like he just can't. So
I hope he's not listening to this podcast.
I love +7.5 or +7, whatever it is. I love that.
Greg,
how confident am I to actually the Jets going to win this game? My brother was joking around with me because I was sounding too confident, like through text. He's like, "All right, just like brace yourself for the possibility that the underdog Packers might sneak out a win in Lambeau against the Jets." You know, yeah, and I get that. So, but I'm not that funny. I kept saying if I was, I'm not that confident. I'll call it 55%. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because if this was in New York, I'd be like, okay, the Jets have a chance here. We're at home. But I kind of like that it's on the road. I like that it's on the road.
We're the Road Warriors, man. We're the Road Warriors.
And like they're buttoned up. You know what I'm saying? Like they're worrying about nothing but, oh my God, we're about to play Green Bay in Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers. Like they know what they're going up against, and I don't think the Packers are that team.
And I also love
too.
Yeah, I do. And I also love too. You talked about in the recap with Tsunami about how was it JMF? Had
oh my God, John Franklin Myers
got fired up by the Tyreek comments. Now all of a sudden you got Jair Alexander firing up. Hopefully this Jets team again, feeling disrespected again, back-to-back weeks. I got the Jets 2017 in this, 20-17. I think there's a couple touchdowns, couple field goals. I think it goes under. I think it's a little ugly. I don't think the Packers have been that explosive. I don't think the Jets have been crazy explosive through the pass game. Like you guys said, I think it's going to be a run game heavy for both these teams. We'll eke it out at the end. But again, I think it's going to be Road Warriors, fourth quarter. Zach Wilson on the money downs, clean pocket. It's going to have to happen. He's going to have to throw. And the Green Bay defense is pretty good, so it's going to be fun.
Yeah, I mean, the Green Bay the Packers have not given up more than, they've given up 27 points, and that was to the Giants over in London, but everything goes wacky over in London.
Yeah.
But they did lose to the Vikings 23-7. Granted, Justin Jefferson did go bonkers. So
it's different. That's division.
Yeah, that's division. No, I get that. I'm going to stick with 24-20. New York Jets win this. I'm having confidence in that our defense steps up because they want to show that they're actually a team.
I also think
this is the week.
One last thing too, Alex, before we get out of here. These guys know each other. We did the training camp thing last year with the Packers. Mike LaFleur, Matt LaFleur, brothers, their coach, our offensive coordinator, Robert Saleh, best friends with Mike LaFleur, grew up in the ranks. I think at Central Michigan is where they started as coaches, roommates, best friends. So these guys know each other. I think it's going to be close. If you're gambling, if you listen to us on Winning P Weekly, take the points. 7's a lot of points in the NFL. Take the points because I think it's going to be a close one.
And if you're as crazy as me, take the Jets. Make the playoffs and sprinkle on the. I'm starting to sprinkle on the division just because it's a crazy number, a plus 2,300.
2,300's nuts.
And there's a chance, so you're saying there's a chance, right? At this point, I'm telling you, the Jets win. It's just a fact. The Jets win this week, and the Bills lose to the Kansas City Chiefs in Arrowhead. I'm not asking for a freaking miracle here. I'm asking for the Buffalo Bills to lose to the Kansas City Chiefs in Arrowhead. The Jets are going to be tied for the top of this division. So it's just a fact. Going into Denver, which I was scared of, but who knows? Road Warriors.
Road Warriors, baby. And on that note,
we need this win, man. We need this damn win, Alex. We need the damn win.
I agree. And I think it's going to happen. 24-20.
I need it. I cannot go to Green Bay Airport on my way back to New York with a loss. I can't do it. I can't.
Love the energy. And on that note, make sure to stay tuned after the short break. I won't say these messages. After the short break.
Jets. That's the message.
It's with us to break down this matchup between the New York Jets and the Green Bay Packers. We got Spencer Sismonowitz, host of the Poor Man's Packers podcast with us today. He's a brother. He's part of the Fan Sign of Minute Media podcast network. Spencer, how you doing today, my man?
Not too bad. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Thank you for joining us. Look, this is an important matchup for us, and this is an important matchup for you. So we got to get into this. We got to get it all started. But I got to ask you first, Spencer. How do you feel about your Packers right now? What's the state of affairs? Because you guys just lost to the New York Giants over in London. You still get a normal week after traveling to London. What's the state of the team right now?
I said this on our podcast this week, Poor Man's Packers podcast, of course. It's about the worst the vibes have felt in the Matt LaFleur era, which is, I mean, we're very blessed to, be Packer fans with all the winning we've had in the last 2 decades. But yeah, just the whole London trip wasn't good. We elected to not have a bye week right after, too. I think we're one of the only teams that have ever done that. Usually you just take it right after.
Everybody this year, though, the Saints and the Vikings last week didn't take a bye.
Oh,
The
yeah.
Giants aren't taking a bye, and neither are you guys. It's so crazy. It makes no sense.
Yeah,
No sense.
I don't quite get it either. I don't know if they're trying to stay in some type of flow, but especially after a loss, not good. Obviously the offense with the new wide receivers moving on from Devontae, trying to get the rookies in there a little bit more. It's been a little touch and go. The running game haven't stuck with it enough, and then the defense is just. We have I feel like one of the more talented defenses in the league. We have everyone on the defense is either a first round pick, Pro Bowler, or All Pro, aside from Preston Smith and Adrian Amos. Like very, very talented, but I mean, you saw last week the Giants I think they scored on 5 straight drives and just couldn't stop a nosebleed in that entire game. It's been rough, but I don't know. We haven't, once again, in Matt LaFleur, while he's been the coach, we've never lost back-to-back games in the regular season. So that's what I'm kind of looking at right now.
It's crazy, too, because the Packers were supposed to be leaning on their defense this year. Meanwhile, you guys are like 30th against the run and DVOA. Last I checked, that's kind of rough for an Aaron Rodgers team that's supposed to kind of be deodorant for them. You know what I mean? You guys don't really have the offensive weapons. And like you said, what's up with the Packers steering away from their run game? Like, do you have the two? That's obviously the best part of your team besides Aaron Rodgers. They could both play out of the backfield. Obviously, they could jam the ball up the middle. Like, what's going on there? Is it a little floor thing?
We'll never know for sure because it's, a big debate is what's the LaFleur offense, what's the Aaron Rodgers offense, and especially this year without having Devontae Adams, we've moved more towards this RPO type offense where we're out of the shotgun a lot, and we saw that in the second half. A lot of fans were complaining about our second series after the Giants tied it, 2020, and we went with 3 straight passes, all incompletion. So it's basically what Rodgers sees at the line, and they stack the box in the second half. We kind of abandoned the run game. Aaron Jones only had 6 carries in the second half. A.J. Dillon only had 2.
It's crazy.
And and right now I believe Aaron Jones is first or second in yards per carry in the league, but only has 19 or is ranked 19th in rushes. I don't know. I think we're going to see more of it this week because literally anytime we lose, we wonder why Aaron Jones doesn't get the ball more. And now with a couple losses earlier this season than we're used to, I would think we're going to run a little bit more, but I don't get it. I mean, Aaron Jones is far and away the most explosive player on this offense right now, and we got to just feed him the ball. I don't know why it's not happening.
And what about A.J. Dillon, man? I mean, come on, help me out with some fantasy purposes.
Yeah, he's tough. I like A.J. Dillon a lot, and I know last year on Pro Football Focus, he was rated the #1 running back, but we've moved away from giving him the ball in the pass game too. I know early in his career, people thought he didn't have hands, but he'd sneaky get at least like 20, 30 yards a game just out of the backfield. And I don't think he's had a target the last 2 weeks even. So I don't quite get it either. He's, when Aaron Jones is getting near 6 yards a carry right now this season, it's a little tougher to give Dillon the ball when he's at like 3.5, I think. But it's everything outside. It seems like Aaron Jones gets, and anything we're running inside is A.J. Dillon. But I don't know. It's one of the many mysteries of the offense so far this year.
What about your wide receiver core, man? I mean, you brought back Randall Cobb, you got Allen Lazard.
Yeah, what's the problem, dude? Randall Cobb got like 18 targets last week. What's going on right now?
And you got Romeo Doubs too. So
yeah,
it's an interesting. I'd say it's an interesting wide receiver core.
Yeah, I thought we'd be better off this year too, but it's been tough. Romeo Doubs, tons of hype coming into the season. I think beginning of the year, I thought people were overblowing the whole Aaron Rodgers doesn't throw the rookie, or he'll complain about the rookies a lot, but I don't know. I would like to think he'll get a little bit more involved, but Randall Cobb right now leads the team in receiving yards. I think receptions as well. Going into the Giants game, that preview, I said I I'd be surprised if Randall Cobb has more than 6 receptions in a game for the rest of his career. And then, of course, the next game he has 7 receptions. So
Yeah, I'm like literally. I think like
Aaron
11
Rodgers is
targets.
listening to your podcast and it's like,
yeah,
bet, hold my beer.
right. Yeah. So
No, go ahead. In terms of the Jets, specifically this week, where the Green Bay Packers, in my opinion, especially in the pass game, are going to be able to find a hole is with Randall Cobb. Kind of playing that underneath game, finding that hole in our zone, and honestly, Robert Tonyan. We say it every week. The tight ends and Tonyan and Aaron Rodgers, especially in the red zone, they like to connect. So I'm definitely afraid of those. What makes me happy, if I could find anything positive, against an Aaron Rodgers offense, is number one. Christian Watson, I'm not worried about. Dobbs, I'm not worried about because of our cornerbacks. Our run game is pretty good, and your running backs don't catch out of the backfield, which has been our Achilles heel so far. So where I'm looking for the Green Bay to capitalize on us is Tonyan, and I think this is going to be another Randall Cobb game, in my opinion.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me too. Tunion's had a pretty solid year. I mean, we didn't even think he'd be playing at this point. We thought for sure he'd be on the PUP and maybe be starting at this point. But yeah, he's coming back slowly, but a little bit more than we thought. Randall Cobb will see. And I would like to see us throw the ball to our running backs a little bit more, especially early in the season. And when we have the most success is when we throw the ball to them. So Matt LaFleur preaches every week too that you're going to see an offense depending on what defense we're going up against. Last week he let the 8-man box really dictate what we were doing, but I would like to see a healthy dose of Aaron Jones getting the ball through the air, and we'll see what happens in the middle of the field as well.
Yeah, and
Looks like you got your offensive line back, right? Did Bakhtiari play last week in London?
It's been a very, very weird saga with David Bakhtiari. He's technically been medically cleared to play since week 17 last year, I think. He didn't really practice much in training camp. 2 weeks ago, he played every snap but against the Patriots, every snap but 3. And then last week in London, due to travel and coming back from the knee injury and having the fake turf in London, they elected to rotate their tackles every series. They did this 3 weeks ago too. And Josh Nijman, our backup left tackle, actually had more snaps than Bakhtiari. So it's been very weird. I mean, you don't hear about rotating offensive linemen too much, but that's what they're rolling with right now.
How are you feeling about
the Jets got rolling?
How are you feeling about Aaron Rodgers right now as a quarterback and being the captain of that offense right now? Because we're talking about 38. We know the Packers and Aaron Rodgers has had there's been slight turmoil, nothing I'd say too extreme, but some contract disputes and so forth. But how are you feeling overall? Because when I watched him against, especially most recently, as mostly everyone who did, especially on the East Coast, got to wake up and watch a 9 a.m. game over in London, it seemed like he struggled a little bit against the Giants defense. And the Giants coming into the season, a lot of question marks. You got Dabble, who's the first-time head coach out there, seems to be riling up his guys. But Aaron Rodgers seemed to struggle against that defense. Are Packers fans still trusting Aaron Rodgers? Are they concerned? What's the feeling on him right now?
Yeah, I mean, I still trust him. It's been like an every other half thing for him almost. The first half against the Patriots, terrible. They were getting booed at Lambeau. And then last week, second half, 0 points. But then, when he second half of the Patriots game, he just ripped it. And first half of the Giants game, he had 20 points going into halftime. So it's tough. I don't know what the hell it is. It's like sometimes he just needs to turn it on. And this year especially, he just loves throwing these deep shots to guys that are covered. He's one of the worst deep shot quarterbacks in the league right now. He's obviously getting older, moving around the pocket seems to be a little tougher for him too, taking a couple more sacks. And we got the new offensive line as well with those moving parts. But I don't know. It's still Aaron Rodgers. That's what I tell myself every game. Even, we had a 3rd and 2 and 4th and 2 to finish off the game last week. And I'm like, we have to score a touchdown. We have Aaron Rodgers, but I don't know. We'll see. He said this week too, he's getting ready. Usually when he has these slumps, they get onto a roll, and that's how the season, goes on after that. So hopefully that happens, but we'll see. I'm not losing faith. I mean, I mean, some fans are actually calling for Jordan Love, which is just egregious to me. So
Wow.
What's going on with this thumb, though? Speaking of Jordan Love.
yeah, well, Rodgers did practice today. I believe he had his thumb taped too. He said he's going to play. I assume he's going to play. I don't think it's a whole COVID toe deal like we had last year, but
He has COVID thumb.
yeah,
Calling it right now.
might be COVID thumb. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know, might limit him a little bit, but
Is his thumb immunized?
yeah, it could be. Yeah, we'll see on Sunday.
All right. Moving to the defensive side of the ball. This is where I find it's very interesting because the Packers passing defense hasn't given up a lot of touchdowns. You guys are good at stopping, the big chunk plays. Actually, you're one of the better teams when it's coming to stopping the receivers from getting those big chunk plays. But you're allowing a lot of completions. Actually, you're last in the league, 72.9% when it comes to completion percentage, which bodes well for the Jets offense, especially for a guy like Zach Wilson starting to get back into rhythm. Third game, no interceptions the first 2 games since he's been back. What's up with that, man? What's up with your passing defense so far right now?
I mean, overall, we have the most vanilla defense in the league. It seems like we had Mike Pettin, who, before this, who's more of a defensive mind and all these elaborate blitzes and stuff. And now we have Joe Barry, who we either line up and rush 4 or line up and rush 5, depending on how many down linemen we have. And that's pretty much it. We're playing very soft. We're always in zone coverage, it seems like. I don't know if you guys saw the stuff about Justin Jefferson week 1 and Jair not manning up against him. So yeah. Joe Barry did talk to the media today and said that they're going to be a little bit more aggressive in the secondary. But, we came into this season with Jair Alexander, Eric Stokes, and Rasul Douglas, which we're thinking was, one of the best trios of corners in the league. And now we're just playing zone coverage, bumping off guys. And it's very frustrating. It's the most passive, safe defense out there. We're just always in zone, hanging back. It really is, we allow all these completions, like you're saying, but we're just trying to keep it in front of us. When in the past, it was always the big plays. And now it's like, God, I like to just blitz or do something creative, but it's unreal. We only have 7 passes defended on the season, no picks. And I believe the next closest team in passes defense is 14. So we're not creating enough pressure to get those, YOLO balls out there, and the secondary just isn't making the plays. So Darnell Savage, our safety, in his 4th year, he's struggled quite a bit, and Eric Stokes has been up and down. Rasul Douglas, who was a star last year when we signed him off the Cardinals practice squad, we've had him play in the slot a lot, which he's been struggling. He played outside a lot last year with Jair being out. So it's still kind of feeling things out, but I don't know. Vibes are bad. Vibes are bad on the defense right now.
Well, I'll give you this. You got 1 interception. Okay. It's not that you got 1 interception on the season. It's all good.
I love that the ghost of Mike Patton still reigns all over this league.
Yeah.
Like, just ruined my life for so many years.
Well,
it's so classic that he's still alive.
Like I told you guys before we started recording, I think I'm in Eagan, Minnesota. You can see the Vikings training facility from where I'm at. That's where he is probably right now because he's on the Vikings staff.
It's just so funny that he's still around. He's still lingering out here, and it's not me that's just crying about him. It feels good. But you mentioned Jair Alexander, and you mentioned media, and what a nice little segue here, because he sent ripples, I think, throughout the Packers locker room more than anyone else. I don't think anyone really cares, because in reality, we were thinking the same exact thing, right? Like, I don't actively root against the New York Giants, but if it's for the benefit of the New York Jets, like the Green Bay Packers winning so that they're not pissed off coming back into Lambeau, that would have been fantastic. But especially the way they lost, I was like, damn, like, Aaron Rodgers now going back into Lambeau in a kind of a must win with, you're talking about the Minnesota Vikings practice facility. If they win again, I mean, they're going to start being hard to catch up to. They're going to be tied with KC or Buffalo, whoever wins that game, for best record in the whole league, obviously besides the Eagles. So depending on what happens with the Cowboys. So what's your opinion on Jair Alexander saying, all right, we're okay, but if we lose to the Jets this week, things are really going to be looking bad. And then Aaron Rodgers commenting, talking about the energy, don't put that energy out there. I think that's kind of, from our perspective, it kind of feels like when you're scoring points like in basketball against a team and they start fighting with each other and you're like, all right, like we got them. You know what I mean? Like this is our time to pounce. Like that's what it looks like from our perspective.
Yeah, there was a couple goofy quotes because it was fat, and I don't think there was cameras in the locker room, but seeing Rodgers comment on someone else's comment isn't that great.
Yeah.
Aaron Jones, they made a lot out of one of his sound bites where a guy literally asked him, like, it was 3rd and 2, 4th and 2 to end the game. Do you feel like you and AJ could have gotten 2 yards? And he was like, yeah, of course. They turned that into some big drama. What kind of running back wouldn't say they'd run for 2 yards? But yeah, Jair's goofy. He's a very vibe type guy, very zen. He doesn't talk too much, but when he does, it's always something that pop off on Twitter. But we'll see. I don't disagree with him. I think he's getting a little frustrated as well. Like I talked about that week 1 against the Vikings where he wanted to match up against Justin Jefferson and that didn't happen. So that's kind of lingered. We'll see this week. Maybe we'll be able to play a little bit more man with him and we won't get any big quotes after the game.
Okay. So from the Packers perspective, how are you feeling coming into this game, like going against the Jets? What do you think the Packers need to do in order to defeat the Jets? Because right now, I don't know if you've seen it. Quentin Williams is a beast. We got top 2 corners, with DJ Reed and Sauce Gardner lighting up the league. Our running back situation is pretty solid on offense. Zach Wilson, like I mentioned, hasn't thrown an interception, been pretty on point, coming back off a knee injury. We got some weapons at wide receiver. What are the Packers looking to do right now, in your opinion, to stop the New York Jets from winning this weekend?
From what I've seen, it looks like Wilson is one of the best quarterbacks in the league when he isn't pressured, and he's one of the worst when he is. So it's not too hard for me to put together like, hey, maybe we should rush him a little bit more, not making an easy day for him. But once again, we only really rush 4 or 5. I think we've brought 6 like literally 10 or 20 times this year, but we got to make Wilson uncomfortable. That's the big deal. And then hopefully we can get that first pick or whatever from on both ends there. But we need to make him uncomfortable. We need to get the run game going early. I know you guys have a pretty stout defense this year. I mean, you're one of the better. I was looking at the stats. You get a sack on 6% of plays and a pick on 5% of plays. Like that is just, it's not sustainable, but what a way to start the year. So we'll see those. I'm sure that everyone in the secondary will be looking to pick off Aaron Rodgers, but
when you play Jordan Pickett and you get 4 interceptions one day, it kind of bumps up the stats a little bit.
Yeah. That's fair. But
yeah, we had Thompson last week because we took out Bridgewater on the turnover.
That's
so
right.
We've kind of, I don't want to say it's lucky, like especially last week. I don't want to say it's luck because we actually took out the quarterback. You know what I mean? So on a play that we recognize by our rookie going into the game, a turnover plus points, and it was clean. So I don't want to say that was luck, but we did end up playing the 3rd string quarterback. Like that's just the reality of the situation. Like Alex was saying, backup quarterback in Pittsburgh, lost to Cincinnati, lost to the Ravens, right? The 2 starters. Beat Brissett, but in Cleveland. But I mean, that's luck, right? I mean, you call that one a lucky game. So for us, this is like a huge prove it game, and the fact that Green Bay is reeling, that bodes well for us. The Jets are 2-0 on the road so far this year, which is unheard of. Usually the Jets stink on the road and they stink at home, but especially on the road, like they don't really win games on the road, man. Especially like the fact that it was in Pittsburgh, the fact that it was in Cleveland, like those are just historically tough places to win. But I mean, the pedestal has to be right now Lambeau, and then next week we go into Denver. I mean, we just have tough road games, especially on paper. Do you also feel like this is like for us? This is like a huge prove it game. Is this a kind of win or panic game for Green Bay, like kind of on the opposite side of the spectrum? Because that's how I feel.
Yeah, because I mean, we were looking at the schedule, especially after we beat Tampa week 3, and we were like, wow, we weren't expecting to do that. And after this, it looks like some cupcakes because of the Patriots, the Giants, the Jets, and then the Commanders, and then we have the Bills. So yeah, if we don't get a win here, it's already been, bad vibes this week. But I don't know if, falling to 3-3 we'd have to have some players only meeting, or Joe Barry would actually have to change his scheme or something. But we'll see. I'm going to be in a dark place on Sunday if we end up losing this game. That's for sure.
But you could just blame it on the London thing. I think that's a huge excuse. I mean, I've been
That's what they use.
Yeah, Greg and I, we have another podcast called Winning Picks Weekly, and we go over, all the NFL games. And when we were trying to find the trend in these games after London. It looks like I think there's in general we found 6-1 on the over if they don't take a bye after coming back. So that was kind of nice. But we also saw that every single game has been close in the second half if you come out of London. And with the spread being 7 or 7.5.
I hate that spread.
Like I've seen, it's a tough spread, man.
I would take the Jets. I would pound the Jets. That is
7.5 is tough.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not just us. I mean, this is. I mean, we're really happy to have you on. Definitely, it's great that we're partnering with another fan-sided network here, and on top of that, we kind of want to make sure that we're not being too delusional, right? Because sometimes you get too mixed up. You get some lost in the sauce. If we might say so ourselves. Our video producer Greg, he likes to call me a crazy person. We're gonna positive about the
certified
Jets.
Crazy person.
Certified. Yeah, So I'm glad that you think that the 7.5 is tough. Is there somewhere in your actual brain? You said you're gonna be in a dark place if the Packers lose. Is there somewhere in your brain that you actually think that the Packers could lose this game?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like I've mentioned a couple times, under LaFleur, we haven't lost back-to-back games. But that's what I'm really holding on to. It's just
it's first time for everything, man.
Right. Because if we had beat the Giants last week, if we just would have converted those last few drives and took the lead at the end, I'd feel worse about this game maybe, because I'm like, we can't blow it 2 games in a row, but we have to get a get-right game eventually. I think on our podcast this week, I had us winning by 2 points. So it's going to be tough. Breece Hall, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. It seems like he was finally part of the offense a little bit more last week.
Thank God.
Yeah. Okay. And we struggle with running backs at times, obviously. God, I don't know. It's one of those where it's like, ask me after the first quarter how the vibes are, because especially at Lambeau, if we can get ahead early and just maintain it and keep our foot on the gas, I'd feel a lot. We don't do that on defense, especially. But I don't know. You guys have a nice young team there, and Matt LaFleur hasn't done very well against friends and family. And with Robert Saleh, his best friend, and his brother, the offensive coordinator. I mean, Matt said this week that he talks to his brother every single day, and he watches like every single Jets game. And it's like, these guys are very familiar with each other in an odd way. And I don't know, with the Niners have just always had our lunch, and you guys, have the Niners of the East right now, as far as the coaching staff go, it kind of seems like. So
don't get John too aroused over here.
That's too much. That's too much right now. That's too much of a compliment right now, because here's the thing. So LaFleur mentioned the same thing, where he watches all the Dolphins games and all the Packers games. It worked out for us on literally the first snap of the game versus Miami, right? They recognized something on their offense, and there was a safety blitz. They already kind of predetermined it. If we get this look, it happened to be the first play, and it was a game-changing play. We ended up winning by 40 because of that, right? So I'm also worried about that aspect for us. Alex likes to keep saying Zach Wilson hasn't thrown an interception, and just keeps screaming to me that it's coming. So I am on ice about that. But you mentioned Lambeau. Go ahead.
But the good thing is, Spencer said LaFleur hasn't lost back-to-back games. Technically, he wouldn't. Matt would be his brother, so technically LaFleur would still be winning the game.
Yeah, LaFleur would have won. Yeah, so it would break the streak.
I'm trying to think. Well, it would have to be that every matchup between LaFleur's in the first matchup, oh God, I'm trying to think here. They lose. So since this is the first time as an offensive coordinator, I would think your LaFleur has to lose this game since we always lost the other one.
Well, I don't know what kind of mental gymnastics are happening, but I'll tell you this.
That's where
I
I'm
was
at this season.
I was at the Green Bay Jets joint practice, and I was at that preseason game, and we got absolutely smacked when the start. I know it's a completely new team for both squads, but I'm just saying the last time they played each other, it was not pretty. And then I felt like Aaron Rodgers talking about Zach Wilson like he's his little brother, and that was. Everyone was like, "Oh yeah, great," but to me, it was like, "Dude, you guys play the same position, and we verse each other." So it's stop acting like a little kid. So
I remember that too. Like just the media members from New York who were there were like in awe of Aaron Rodgers throwing the ball. And I'm like, God, some of us fans just don't know how good we have it right now.
Yeah, exactly. Like I had to go to that preseason game. I've never had to go to a preseason game before because I was like, I don't know if I'm ever going to see Aaron Rodgers. Turned out he came back one more year.
Mm-hmm.
So as soon as that game happened, I literally had to book these Lambeau tickets. I was like, oh my God, Aaron Rodgers in Lambeau. I have to do it. It's never going to happen again. Let me ask you this, though. Do you think this is the rumors always come out as soon as the Packers do bad? The news article came out this week already. I don't want to call it news. Let's call it the article. It came out this week already with the rumor that this is going to be Aaron Rodgers last year. Is there anything to that, or is that just nonsense?
No, that is absolute nonsense. I saw this one guy, dude. Nothing gets me going like fake NFL reporters. Boils my blood. There was the one guy. I already forgot his name, but I tweeted him from the account.
Don't worry about it. Don't give him any clout, man. Don't give him any clout.
Yeah, I shouldn't say his name. It had like 20 favorites or something. It had been up for 5 hours. You look at that same tweet now, and I sent him like a meme, like source, and it was just trust me, bro. Of course, like this dude who's verified on Twitter.
Just trust me.
How could you have connections with every single NFL team? But he said sources within the Packers organization have told me that this is Rodgers last year. You look at that same tweet now, it was nothing, but everyone making fun of it for being fake. He has like 5,000 likes on that fake tweet. So I don't think Rodgers even knows if he's coming back now. So there's no way that's true. We'll see. If we somehow win it all this year, I think he would go out that way, but we'll see how the season goes, but I would expect him to play one more year and then probably be done.
Win it all. Do you think the Packers can win the division?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, every year. I mean, just what did we think of the Rams this time last year, or Tampa Bay?
Well, that's how I think about the Rams right now. They stink.
Right, exactly. Because especially what we've learned being Packer fans the last 3 years, because we've been the 2 seed and then the 1 seed the last 2, and having home field advantage. It really is just about being hot at the right time more than anything. I mean, the one Super Bowl we have under Rodgers is when we got hot the right time as a 6 seed.
Don't get me started about that year. Man. I remember we were first game of the season, Jets Packers. Rodgers didn't score a touchdown. Final score, it was 9-6. No one scored a touchdown.
Right.
No one. All field goals.
That wasn't the first game of the year, was it? I thought it was
that
later.
It was. No, that was the first game of the season.
Man, I didn't think, because I thought I almost want to press you on this, because we signed Howard Green, who was with the Jets that season. They cut him. Packers signed him, big dude. I think he's one of the largest Packers in the history of the franchise. And he came back. I think he had like a decent game. I don't know if he had a sack or anything, but I'm pretty sure we won that game. That's about the only defensive performance we've ever had in the last decade or so. But
you're right. You're right. It was 9-0. You're right. It was 9-0. You're right. It was 9-0. I'm thinking of something totally different. 9-0. Okay. You're right. That was Sunday, October 31st. I don't know why I thought that was the first game.
Because we picked up Howard Green too, and then in the Super Bowl, thank you for giving him to us. He's the guy who hit Ben Roethlisberger, floated the ball up. Nick Collins picked it off and returned for a touchdown. So the Jets were part of that season for us, I guess.
Listen, the Jets are part of everybody. Any team that has a winning season, we are always in the cover in their DVD. That at some point they made an unbelievable play on the Jets, and at this point, I think we hit rock bottom at the end of the Adam Gase era. Last year was a full rebuild for us. We didn't win a division game in 2 years. Versus Miami last week was the first division game we won under Joe Douglas in 2 years, and obviously the first one under Salah. And then We also sucked at home. It was our first game we won at home this year, right? Like we are still like early rebuilding. I don't remember I don't even want to look up the stat because I don't want to know the last time the Jets won 3 games in a row, right? And that's what's at Jeopardy this Sunday. Man, let me ask you this. When we all know about historic Lambeau, right? And we watch it on TV, obviously. Is there a real home field advantage in Lambeau when the Packers are reeling? Because you said they were booing the Packers last week, and from a real MetLife is not a real home field. Like last week, it was the first time I ever felt as a Jets fan in the last decade we were like a real home field. That's just because we're winning. You know what I mean? It wasn't like a real Seattle 12 type deal. And at MSG, right, for the Knicks, when the Knicks are doing bad and we're booing them and it's silent and it's tense, like it does not bode well for our team. You know what I mean? Especially when we expect so much. Is that what's going on in Lambeau, or am I reading that wrong because of the boos?
Lambeau is goofy. Lambeau's very weird because you think of the frozen tundra and all the success in the playoffs and stuff. I think it was 2004, 2005 when the Packers lost to Mike Vick at Lambeau, and that was the first time that it happened in decades. I think something where either just at a playoff game at Lambeau or under 30 degrees, but it's been weird because they had the big renovation in 2003 and it looks great now. But with so much money that they've raked in with Brett Favre and Rodgers being the quarterbacks, I mean, the place is just turning into freaking Disneyland when you get there. There's so many different buildings. There's the Titletown district across the street, a couple other buildings to watch the game at connected to Lambeau. It did for a bit there become more of like, I don't know, just an experience rather than a football game. And
for tourist losers like me, I got you. yeah, I'm with you.
But then the season ticket holders too, it's a lot of older people. So we were never really known for getting that loud. Now, when Matt LaFleur came in, it's one of the things that he wanted to bring with him or bring with when he came, because that kind of was over the franchise at the time. So he tried things like a foghorn during the game. They ended up just recording a bunch of things with like players, to put on the Jumbotron to get everyone pumped up on third down and to be quiet on third down on offense. But it's still kind of, especially with the COVID year without having anyone there. And then last year, I think it's coming back a little bit, but we'll see. The Boo Birds come out because we have a very high standard for the team, but you'll have to tell me how third down is, because you've probably been to much louder games in New York than I've experienced at Lambeau. So we'll have to see on Sunday how it is.
Well, what's the atmosphere like? I know that. Listen, other teams. I'll tell you what it is at JetLife Stadium, as I now have deemed it, since we had one good home field advantage game last week. I'll call JetLife until they prove me wrong. The other team comes in with arrogance, right? Like the other team, they come in excited to throw stuff at our stadium, make fun of us, laugh at us, like wear like teal and orange and like call it the MetLife takeover and have their tailgates and post it. And they're so excited. You know what I mean? And so it creates hostility like within our fans and them. And then we go into the game and we are smacking them, right? And they're all excited and then we smack them. And so it gets hostile. So in general, it's either that way or the other team is just so excited and they win. And then they just, they're yelling at us in our home turf and it's just not good. Everyone just leaves. It becomes laugh at the other team. So what's the atmosphere like at Lambeau? You mentioned, a kind of weird thing going on with more seats, old ticket holders. Are they hostile towards the other fans? Like, is that type of thing? Is it too quiet where like you feel like you kind of just have to like sit stoically and watch like you're at like Carnegie Hall? Like, what's the vibe like at Lambeau?
Vibe should be good. I don't think I've ever heard of an experience going poorly for an opposing fan at Lambeau, and I'm not trying to gas us up or anything, but
that's good. No, that's good.
As long as
I could say that, but last week we heard that like on a very famous podcast, we heard that people were throwing up like the Tua like concussion hand at people. We get low sometimes, like you know what I mean. So I don't expect that kind of stuff at Lambeau.
No, we're not Philly or anything. You guys
let me tell you, I've been to Philly. Philly it's hostile. I was there for a Jets game. We don't even play them that often like the
Yeah.
Giants. And they were just, and the thing is, we had, oh my God, I can't even think of who the third string was. It was that Gase game. I can't remember who that quarterback was.
It's okay.
It was Luke Falk. Was
Oh,
it?
nice.
Yeah, Luke Falk, third string
Marshall's
quarterback.
brother.
And yeah, right. And he comes out. I remember talking. I hate this because I remember my boys and I were trying to go get something to eat before we attend the game, and we see this old married couple, and they're like, "Oh, well, the Jets are staying over at this fancy hotel, and they're like, "Okay," and they're like, "We ran into the quarterback. We thought he was, the athletic director the way he looked." I was like, "Jeez, man." And then this dude came in to throw more than 5 yards and we just get smacked, and I'm leaving the game with my friends, and we're just getting pity booed. It started off from being, like everyone's riled up, jacked up, just ready to get in each other's face, and then it was like, boo, you guys suck. It's not even an entertaining game for us. I was like, jeez, that's Philly fans, man. That's Philly fans for you.
God, yeah, no, you'll be fine out there, John, for sure. As long as your vibes are good. I mean, you would probably be able to just join you Packer fans tailgates as long as you're a good dude, because it's always friendly. I don't think, like I said, I've never heard of any bad experience. And I mean, just the one time I went to US Bank here, like a dude just wanted to fight me. The best experience for me was I was at the last game at the Metrodome. And Packers blew them out. I think it was a Sunday night football game.
I remember that game.
And this Viking fan was leaving. I was up in the higher deck seats, and this guy was literally leaving, pulled his pants down, and was mooning Packer fans as he was walking down the stairs. But it was like the third or fourth quarter, so he had a few.
And it was freezing.
Well, it was inside in the Metrodome.
Oh, okay.
But then as his pants were down, he tripped and started falling down the stairs with his pants. And I was like, this is perfect. That was chef's kiss. Like, that is the perfect Viking fan. But no, you'll be good. You'll be good.
I'm not worried. I was just curious about, because everyone says, "Oh, it's such a tough place to play." I'm just wondering if sometimes when the times are rough, because that's how I feel about the Garden. Everyone's, "Oh, the Garden, tough place." When the Knicks fans hate the Knicks, the Garden is hard to play for the Knicks and for nobody else. You come in and like you score 6 points straight, and like the crowd is with you. Like they're booing the other team.
The team, the fan base will start booing your own team, and then they'll see a highlight reel dunk by the opposing team, and then everyone just gets up and hype, and you're like, what is happening around here?
Yeah, we usually only stick to booing at halftime or maybe the end of the game. But other than that, like I said, I don't know what to compare it to. It's just more of a historical site than a football game sometimes. The last game I was at was in 2019, so maybe it's changed a little bit more, but yeah, it'll be all good vibes.
Well, as you said, you've been used to excellence. I mean, you went from Favre to Rodgers. You've seen one Super Bowl for each quarterback. I mean, I'd be pretty happy too if I was like, oh well, we're probably going to win most of these games this year.
Right.
I'll take it.
Not this one though, Alex.
Not this one. And by the way, just so we're clear, John, I was thinking about the Rams Jets game in 2016, that terrible year with Bryce Petty at the helm.
Dude, what's wrong with you tonight? Why are you thinking about these games, man? Luke Falk, Bryce Petty, we're on to better things right now.
I know, but this is what happens, man. Spencer talked about like, oh well, we've been blessed to have these two quarterbacks. I'm like, what have we gone through? Like, my head starts going back. I'm like, who did we have?
Well,
but now we're in a good place.
You guys had Brett Favre too. What are you talking about?
Exactly. Listen, if I'm not gonna be friendly with people at Lambeau wearing my Jets Brett Favre jersey, I don't know what else I can possibly do to show my good graces.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know if that'll be a good vibe thing or a bad vibe thing. Yeah,
doesn't matter. It's just a vibe in general.
There you go.
It's some sort of vibe. We're not sure what it is. But Spencer, before we get you out of here, man, we got to get your takes on what you think this final score of the game will be. So what's your prediction?
We know you said 2 points on your pod, but we need an official scoring prediction for the Knicks, Jets, etc.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's gonna be a weird game. Like I said, I feel like it's either gonna be really close or we're gonna blow you guys out, which means you guys might just end up blowing us out. But
no,
my score
the Jets are not gonna blow out Green Bay in Green Bay. I mean, just those words don't make sense.
Stranger things have happened. I'm going with a score of 24-22. Packers winning. Like I said, you guys have been, a feisty team this year. It seems like I think you'll keep it close, but I think that's a good medium ground. For offense has been up and down at times, or defense has been up and down at times. I don't know. We'll see what happens, but I think it's going to be a nail biter. And like I said, if you're betting, I would pound that 7 points the Jets are getting.
It's crazy, dude. A whole touchdown and sometimes touchdown and a hook. That's crazy. Alex, what do you got?
All right. So I think for this one,
Uh-oh. Don't tell me.
no,
Don't
I'm
tell me
thinking
you have the Jets winning this game.
I do have the Jets winning this game.
Wow.
I do have the Jets winning
I'm
this
gonna pull
game.
up the clip of you laughing at me just a month ago.
Different vibes, man. Different vibes at this point. Let's see. I got the Jets winning 24-20 for this game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that the exact? Is it 44? Is that the over under? I think it moved up to 45.5. So that's Jets in the under.
Yep.
All right. I think it's going to be a high scoring game for some reason because the Packers don't run, even though they should.
Right.
I think the Jets are going to run a lot, and we're not going to throw against you. I think it's going to get the over. I think it's going to be like 20, maybe like 27-21 or something. Jets. Maybe 27-24, something like that. I think Mason's going to have a game against us. He looks healthy. He looks good to go. I'm nervous about this Lambeau game in Lambeau, man. This is a really big test for the New York Jets. They're hyped. The coaches are comfortable, which the coaches to be comfortable on the road in Lambeau makes me really happy. I mean, that's that's nothing I expect. So, man.
So just to give you some historical context for everyone here, the Jets lead the series against the Green Bay Packers 8-5 historically from 1973 until 2018 was the last time they played. The Jets usually, for some strange reason, manhandle the Packers most of the time. I'm not expecting a manhandling when they win, and it's been vice versa the other way. The Packers, it's either one team's manhandling another for the most part. The last time the Jets beat the Packers was in 2006 in Green Bay, 38-10.
Oh boy,
that was the last time. The time before that was 42-17 in New York.
Well, let me give you another historical fact, Alex. If the Jets win, we're going to be tied with the Buffalo Bills when they lose to Kansas City. We're going to be tied at the top of the damn AFC East division going into Week 7.
That'd be crazy.
Another historical fact for you.
And the last game the Packers and the Jets played was back in 2018. Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold. Yes, rookie season.
That game was a dude.
I love that game. That game season was so bad for us, and that was entertaining.
Green Bay at MetLife.
Oh, the rest of the regular season.
Yeah. Score was 44-38. Packers won in overtime. So these games go wild, man. I'm expecting an interesting game for this one.
Yeah, I am too. I think it's going to be goofy. Like I said, I hope we right the ship, but if we don't, it's going to be it's going to be ugly.
I'm ready. You should blame your cornerback. Let's go.
Oh man. Well, thank you, Spencer, for coming on to our pod and chopping it up and talking about the upcoming game between the New York Jets and the Green Bay Packers. Please let our listeners know where they can find you, if you have any upcoming work, all of that good stuff.
Yeah, you can just follow us on Twitter, PMP Pod. We usually just put episodes out on Tuesdays, and obviously just follow us if you're a Packer fan listening on iTunes and on Spotify for the most part, but usually just the Twitter and our podcast feed.
Awesome. Spencer, thank you for coming on and giving us your insight for the Green Bay Packers. And to all our listeners, thank you for tuning in for another Jets episode of the Knicks, Jets, Etc. podcast. Woo, got a little excited there. Knicks basketball is right around the corner. John already knows. So thank everyone for tuning in for another Jets episode, the Knicks, Jets, Etc. podcast. You all know what to do. If you listen to this podcast, please make sure to subscribe. We're on all audio listening platforms. We're on Apple, Spotify, Google Play, Amazon, Alexa, Stitcher, you name it. We are there. If you listen to us on Apple or Spotify, please make sure to give us that 5-star rating. And if you listen to us on Apple, please make sure to leave a review or comment. We're also partnered with Minute Media and Fansided, just like our good guy Spencer over here. So you can find this Jets podcast, this Knicks, Jets, Etc. podcast on the Jet Press and the Daily Knicks. You can also find us on that YouTube page. Knicks coming, Jets coming, ETC period. No one writes out, etc. That shit's wild. Find the page, subscribe, hit that notification bell. That way you know when a new episode drops. When you watch a video, hit the like button, add to the conversation. Let us know your thoughts and opinion. Who's going to win this weekend? Is it going to be the New York Jets? Is it going to be the Green Bay Packers? We know we got some Green Bay Packers fans in here now because of Spencer. So let us know your thoughts and opinions too. Come on, we're ready for that trash talk. Bring it all. Bring it all. And while you're also over that YouTube page, we got another podcast that's also partnered with Minute Media. Winning Picks Weekly. John, video producer Greg, and our guy and co-host Chip Murphy. These guys go through every single sport possible. All right, but right now it's college football and NFL season, so these guys are giving you their takes on where to place your money. So if you need to put your money down the line because you love sports gambling, these guys got you covered. And then last and certainly not least, please make sure to follow us on all social media platforms. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, you name it. We are there. Thank you everyone for tuning in for another Jets episode of the Knicks, Jets, etc. podcast. We out.
JTS, Jets, baby. Let's go.